Hello fellow makeup lovers, how are you guys doing today? So I'm very excited for this video because I'm going to be talking about neutral palettes that I keep coming back to. Basically the neutral palettes in my collection that even though I'm no longer a true neutral lover, they just keep sucking me back in. I still love them, I still love to use them, and I'm going to be talking about my all-time favorite neutral palette, which I'll mention when I get to it. But I'm extra excited about this collaboration, or sorry, this video, because it is a collaboration. Jeez. And I'm going to be collaborating with Paulina Beauty. If you guys have been on my channel for a while, you've probably heard me speak about Paulina in the past. She is just super sweet and trustworthy and open, and I just love her content. She is super colorful makeup. You're probably familiar with her name because she did do a collaboration with Blush Tribe, which is beautiful, and I can't wait until it's in my hands. So I just love her content. She is also a cruelty-free YouTuber, and she's Swedish. So I like to listen to her talk because you guys know, accents. I love accents. I could just, anyone with an accent, I could just listen to all day long. So that's my little gushing moment over Paulina. So definitely check her out. I'll have her video linked down below as well as her channel. I'll also have it here. So you can go check out her video as well and send her some love. Tell her that I sent you, and let's just go ahead and jump on in. Alright, so quick disclaimer, if some of these palettes don't look like, wow, that's the most loved palette I've ever seen in my life, I don't wear neutrals as often, and I rotate my palettes a lot. I have a lot of palettes, so even though something doesn't look like, I don't hit pan on every single shadow on every single palette, that doesn't mean it's not loved. Very loved by me. So first of all, I have the Dream Street palette from Cathy x Colorpop. Just looks like this. I love the packaging on this. It does not get old. It's so cute. And here is what the inside of the palette looks like, which I think you can hear. If I turn it this way, you can kind of see all the dipping I have in here. I think it looks pretty loved. I'm pretty, actually, you know what? No, that was a speck. I'm really close to hitting pan on this shade right here. That's what I have like all over my eyes today in the crease. So this is one of my go-to neutral palettes because the shades just blend so easily. I feel like there's pigment here. I also love that there are a few pops of color here to make it a little bit more interesting, like the coral, the navy blue, this like teal shade. So I really love this. I wouldn't say it's my perfect palette. I think if I could change one thing, I'd probably switch up like one of these like shades here because those are pretty similar, and I'd also make Moony is pretty. I'm sure it's actually really beautiful in a lot of different skin tones, but for me it's a little bit too dark to use on my inner corner, unfortunately, so it's not my favorite shade in here. But overall, like the matte shades especially, my go-to look, I normally take a combination of these two crease shades, and then I put this in my outer V, and then normally this shade all over my lid. This is the one I go for the most. It's kind of like a rose gold, like a pinky gold shift. I also really love this silver here. It's a really interesting silver. So I've done a lot of looks that I love with this. I've traveled with this a lot, and it's currently in a, what is it called? 9 by New Year's Project Pan. So I'm working really hard to try and pan this palette. My goal is just to get that one matte shade, but I do really enjoy this. So that's number one, and like I said, that's the most affordable, so it's something I could definitely recommend if you want a nice neutral palette. Alright, so next I have the Alimentary Cosmetics Reina del Caribe, and I love this palette so much. So this is what it looks like. I know you're probably like, that's not a neutral palette. It's my version of a neutral palette, okay? So I love this. I love that there's like this olivey light shade. I love the pops of blue. I love the pink shimmer. I love the matte shades here. Like this palette, every time I use it, I'm so happy with it. I think the formula of these are so good. The mattes, well, the mattes are pretty like average. They're not bad. They're not like, oh my gosh, the best mattes I've ever used in my life. I like them. But the shimmery shades are so nice. Should I be doing swatches right now? Or am I going to be lazy? I'll probably be lazy because I feel like these swatches have been done a million times. But these are so beautiful. Like, no, okay, I have to do it. I'm not going to be lazy. I'm going to show you some swatches. At least of these matte shades here, or sorry, at least of the shimmer shades, like, look how beautiful those are. So pretty. So I find myself like, yes, you can go colorful with this palette, but overall this is a palette I definitely reach for a lot and I really love. Alright, so next I want to talk about the Hidden Treasure palette from Dose of Colors, and this was my first Dose of Colors palette. It's how I fell in love with their formula, and this palette is the reason I was able to talk myself out of so many other palettes, because since this came out, I feel like there's been a plethora of palettes that have had this same kind of color scheme, like the different neutral shades, the different like rose, the gold, the like inner core. I just feel like there's been so many palettes just like this. Like, I feel like you can't beat the formula of this. The mattes are so pigmented, so blendable. These shimmers are like incredibly foiled. Like, look, I don't even like golds, but look at Coin. Like, look at that shade. It's crazy. Here, we'll do a little swatcheroo of Ruby. And here, I'll show you Onyx, the black, because it's pretty pigmented. There you go. And we'll do Pearl. Pearl's not the same formula. It's kind of like a softer, like, more of like a sheer shimmery shade, but still really beautiful. So I find like I don't use this palette as often because it is overall pretty true neutral. It's not like a warm neutral palette. The shimmers are more warm, but the actual matte shades aren't that warm. They're pretty neutral. So although, I mean, I use it, I like it, I love it, I want some more of it. I low-key hate country. These shadows in my collection have really stood out and stopped so many other purchases. So whenever I get the need or like the want for another palette that has these colors, I always find myself reaching for these again because they're so nice. So it's like, why fix something that's not broken? I just really like this palette. Oh my gosh. And I really like the Dose of Colors formula. And since this, I've went on to buy all their like different little quints. Okay, so the next palette I'm going to talk about is the Urban Decay Naked Smokey palette, and this is one of the ones that is not super used, and I'll explain. I'll give my side of the story. So this is what it looks like. It is a beautiful cool tone palette. You will not hear me say that very often, beautiful and cool tone in the same sentence. So every once in a while I get an itch to do a cool toned eye, and I always, without a doubt, go for this palette. Like, there's nothing else in my collection that I would prefer over this to do a cool toned eye. So I think this is one of the best purchases I've made because even though it's not something I use every day, I don't use it all the time. And like I said, I don't do smoky eyes very often, but when I want a true cool toned smoky eye, this is my baby. I reach for it above anything else. In fact, I don't have any other palette in my collection except the Lorac Pro 2, which is kind of more on the cool tone side, but it has a few different pops of color, and that one's slightly different. But this is the only true cool tone palette in my entire collection. Even in my single shadows, like, I don't have cool tone singles because it's not something I reach for very often. I feel like I hear people who have like my same like skin tone and like whatnot all the time say that they prefer cool tones because they feel like it looks so much better on them. I don't know. I mean, I'm not the judge of what looks the best on me, but I go more with emotions and how makeup makes me feel. I'm sorry, I keep snapping this because it's really addictive, but I don't wear cool tones often. That's what I'm trying to say, but when I do, this is my go-to. And if I were to, like, here, I'll leave that at the end. At the end of the video, I'm going to answer if every single palette I had disappeared, what the two neutral palettes I would pick up would be. Alright, so next, following up with that, is the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette, and this is one of those palettes I was like, I'm not gonna buy it. I really don't need it. I have so many warm tones, but I really have fallen in love with this palette. Just looks like this, and every single time I want to do a true, like, just rich, warm, fiery look, I reach for this, and I feel like it is so perfect for that. All the matte shades in here are so good. I feel like this is just such an easy palette because they all blend so easily. There's also a lot of really similar shades in here, which can be like not a good thing sometimes, but at the same time I feel like they're really easy to blend into one another. And I just, like, if I don't have a lot of time but I want to do a warm tone eye, I'm very likely to pick this up. So this is one of my favorites as well, and I really enjoy it. I think if I had to, I could live without this palette, but I do really enjoy it, and I do find myself coming back to use it over and over again. Alright, so the next palette is going to be my most used palette ever, and this is the Anasazi Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette, and this was in a project pan last year, so that's why it's in the state that it's in, which is this. So I really like this palette for a warm, neutral look. For a while I thought that this was really great for like a pop of color, like a subtle pop of color, like the different pinks, the reds, the orange. But I've discovered over time from using this that those shades, no matter what you do, no matter how you pack them on, if you add them with the other shades, they kind of mute down and they don't look like super vibrant, at least not for me. So that's, I don't really reach for those. Like, if I want to do like a super pink look, this isn't a palette that I pull out. But when I do something really warm, really neutral, I really like this. I also like this shade here for contour, like for my cheekbones, which was an interesting way to use this, especially since the pan is so small. But I do like that shade for that. And I really like that almost all the shades are matte here, and like there's a gold tone shimmer shadow, a pink tone shimmer shadow, and I just found like, because I've used this palette so much, that there's so many different looks you can do with this. One of my favorite things with this palette is to take these transition shades here, I'd put them all over the lid, and then I would either pack this shade on, or this shade on to the outer V, and that would be one of my favorites for just like a really warm neutral look. And then also a really pretty mauve look, you know, Buen Fresco right here is super beautiful, like that all over like the crease shade, and then just putting Vermeer on the lid. I thought that was really pretty. So I don't know, I feel like for as much as I use this palette to pan it, I never really got like super bored. I mean, towards the end I was like, dang, I need a break. Like, maybe I'll call you in a few months, but for now we need to like just take a moment. But since we're past that little hiccup in our relationship, I really do find myself continuing to reach for her. And I don't know, I've kind of contemplated, like, if I were to use up the shades, would I end up repurchasing it? Which is crazy for me. I, like, never thought, like, oh my gosh, like, I would repurchase the palette. But I don't know, it's something I might do if it was, like, a good sale and I used up more of the shades, which, I don't know, I feel, like, really proud about this palette because before I use this, or before I put this in a project pan, I had never panned an eyeshadow before, and now I've hit pan on a few, including this palette and some others. So that's my modern renaissance. I also feel like I love the new Anasazi palettes. Wait, let me pull out. Okay, I can't mention these as part of this video. We'll do like a little honorable mention, but the Soft Man palette, okay, I really can't mention this one because I need to play with it more. But when I look at this palette, I just love it so much. Like, it is the most beautiful neutral palette. So like I said, I need to play with that one more. I can't put this in here. But the Norvina palette I've been playing with, I don't know if you can tell, but my son's been playing with it too. He likes to stick his fingers in things, but I'm really loving this palette. I want to do like 3 looks using the palette. I have some looks I've done that I really liked. I like this a lot more than I thought I would. I got these both 50% off because my friend at Ulta had a discount. She was so kind to share it with me. So I feel like I haven't played with the Norvina enough or had it long enough to do like the whole like coming back to category of makeup for a neutral palette, but I could see this in the future kind of being in this category, if that makes sense. Okay, so the last palette I have to talk about today is my favorite neutral palette of all time, and my favorite palette of 2017, and probably one of the most hyped up palettes ever. But for me, I feel like it's definitely deserving of the hype. So this is the Morphe x Jacqueline Hill palette. I'm sure you've seen it a million and one times. Here's what the inside looks like, and I love this palette to death. Like, I love a good warm eye, and you can do any warm toned eye you want with this. Like, there's so many different beautiful shades, like this ruby shade. I love the pops of color in here, the different blues and purples and teal and like the deep green. Okay, this deep green and this deep purple are the like one of my favorites because they stay true to their color. A lot of like really deep colors, when you put them on your outer V and you blend them in, they kind of just end up looking either brown or black. But I feel like at the end of the look, you can still see the green and you can still see the purple. So I love that. I love the formula. Like, the mattes are so blendable, so pigmented. The shimmers are just foiled, like wet, metallic. Like, I love this palette so much. And I just can't say enough good things. Like, I feel like, I don't know. I don't understand how anyone could not like this palette. I think that's, I mean, I understand. I totally understand. If you hate this palette, like, that's fine. But I think it's one of those times when you have such a good experience with a palette, you're like, oh, you don't like the Jacqueline Hill palette? I mean, I would never, like, say like that someone was lying or not truthful, but from my experience, I just love this so, so much. And to answer like my little question earlier, if I lost all of my palettes and I had to choose two neutral palettes to replace to get me by, to be happy with, I would do the Morphe x Jacqueline Hill palette and the Naked Smokey palette. And I think this combined with maybe a few colorful palettes, I would be set, like completely set. I just love this palette, and I feel like the price just makes it that much better because yes, it is like $40 or something, but you can get sales all the time. You can use Ulta points, like you can use discount codes, you can use coupons, so you can definitely get the price down. You can use Ebates, but you're getting so many shadows that the price I feel like is completely justified because these are so, so good. I can't tell you, oh my gosh, no, no, no. Oh, I almost dropped it. My heart just sunk. I can't tell you how many people I have caused to buy this, like in my real life. Like, I mean, internet is real, but like in my personal life, like my best friend, I made her buy this. My best friend's mom, she was texting me and she was like, can you tell me like some makeup that I need? And I'm like, the Jacqueline Hill palette. You need it, girl. You need it right now. So this is my baby. Like, seriously, I just love her so, so much. And whether you love Jacqueline or not, I like Jacqueline, but I don't allow I try not to allow my like of a YouTuber, especially a super huge YouTuber. It's a bit easier to bias my thoughts or anything. And truly, like, I have so many other collaborations that it's like I bought them for the collab and I use them every once in a while. So I feel like that doesn't really matter because it's like I stopped using them. Like, it doesn't matter how much I like the collabor, I'm basically trying to say, because in the end, at the end of the day, I continue to use this because I love it, not because Jacqueline Hill made it. And it's just my baby. If you're curious about my thoughts on the Vault collection, I actually have them all right there. And I'm ashamed to say that I've only used one palette and I've had them there for months. And I think it's because whenever like Morphe releases things, I feel like the internet is overloaded and I just don't want to be like a bandwagoner. Like, I don't want to do the same video everyone's doing at the same time. So everyone was talking about those palettes for like 2 months and I was just like, you know what? I did one video trying out the Dark Magic and I thought it was actually okay. But since then, I've just been like, I'm just gonna wait. I'm just gonna wait. Like, even the Morphe times James Charles palette, I'm so excited about. I have it here across from me, and I just haven't used it yet because everyone's still talking about it. I don't know. I did the same thing with the Jacqueline Hill palette. I did a few tutorials, but I waited, I think, 6 months of using this before I did my review. And I think that was like, I felt really good about that review because I just love this palette. I just love it so, so much, and I totally just landed into the Naked Smoky palette, but these, I love them. Okay, I think I need to stop gushing over that palette now because it's probably getting ridiculous, but it's my favorite. Actually, you know what? I didn't even do any swatches. Let me just swatch a few real quick. Okay, we'll do this pinky one. Oh my gosh, they're just so good. Like, that was just a tiny little touch. This shade, I think this shade might be called Jax. This is one of my favorites. It's like a burnt red shade. We'll do this like poolside looking shade. Ooh. And then we'll do the green. So pretty. I think that would be a pretty look, actually. I should do like palette bingo with this palette. It's my favorite. So I don't use this as often on camera, not for any particular reason, normally because I'm testing something new. But if you guys want to see more looks with this, let me know because it really is one of my all-time favorites. Like I've said 8 million times, but look at those. So pretty. I also could mention that there are a few different neutral palettes that I do really like right now. Like, I've been liking the Glam Light palettes, but I didn't want to include anything in this video that I haven't had for a long time because it's easy to go back to something you just got because it's still like that hype of it being new, but something you've had for a long time, I feel like that says a lot. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I thought it was really fun to film and to finally do like a favorites of palettes because you guys ask me for favorites on palettes all the time and it's so hard. It's like choosing which baby is your favorite. So I know you want to see a colorful palette favorites and I'm working on it. I've got a list. I'm narrowing it down. It's so hard to choose my favorites because I'm like, I could like argue why I like every single palette that I have in my collection. So I'm working on it. It'll hopefully come in January of 2019. Hopefully. Oh my gosh, I should say February because low expectations don't equal disappointment. So Anyways, I hope you also go ahead and check out Paulina. Like I said, I really love her channel. I think she's so nice, so definitely give her some love, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye. Oh wait, no, I forgot. I always forget to do this in collabs. I like spend like forever talking about the other person because I'm so excited about it. But really quick, if you are new to my channel and you came over from Paulina's, thank you so much for giving me a chance. And thank you for subscribing if you do. I'm really, really happy to have you here. And you should leave down below what's your favorite eyeshadow color, because mine is either green or pink. So let's get to know each other. Alright, so that's everything. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Bye.